Andy and all of those from the Student Government Association, Omicron Delta Kappa, and Mortarboard are certainly to be congratulated, not only for what we have today, but for really the conception, because it seems to me that this is something that many of us can imagine who attended small colleges, but in the case of Auburn, such a large university, and to be able to come together as administrators, faculty, students, for this final lecture, we see a great potential for the future, and I hope that in our new union, because we are in a sense saying farewell to Foy Union, because I have spoken from this very stage many a time in my day, but I seriously doubt that it will happen again. I think we're going to be saying goodbye to this and moving on to new land, new grounds. But wherever it is, I hope that at this time of our academic year, we will remember this occasion, and that those who succeed you, Andy, and others in leadership roles will choose to perpetuate it. Andy mentioned that I've received other awards, and they are beautiful on a wall, but there is nothing as being honored by those whom one serves. Having been here for 33 years, sounds like a lot of years, and mathematically I have to admit it. I can't pretend, but it is to say that the students are what it's all about, and to be recognized by them is a joy beyond measure, and to have, of course, family, Hamp and Susie at the front, and special friends and colleagues who are out there today means a lot to me, a great deal to me. I want to mention one in particular, Stephanie Bond, because she, as a small child, cooked a delicious meal, the first good meal I had in Auburn in 1975. I think it was probably illegal for children to cook, but she dared do it. I think she was 3 or 4 maybe, and she cooked that meal. And do you know that was the first good meal I had, because it was just War Eagle or kind people. And that brings it back. That was the fall of 1975 in Noloco Drive, if I'm right on that, I think. And I give you great thanks for that meal, and I try not to forget these things, and I appreciate them forever. I also want to thank the honor societies, and as was noted to you by Andy, I have always been very interested in the honor societies, including Omicron Delta Kappa and Mortarboard. It is true that I was not hired to work with honor societies. It just sort of happened that way. I think in April of 1976, I got a call to start, and I think at one point I got up to 4 honor societies and a social fraternity at one time, and I was younger then, and it was quite hectic, needless to say. It's good not to have to worry about what you're going to do at night. You just have to worry about what committee you're going to meet with, and inevitably who's going to be able to get the door open to Lucille Burton Hall. A building not unfamiliar to Honor Society aficionados. It is a building that has come to represent Honor Society land for me. And in this connection, I have to tell you that of all my Honor Society experiences, I guess the greatest one occurred way back in 1982. I was coming back from a city of great significance to me now, because it is the home of the great Texas A&M University, where friends of mine are moving. And you know College Station is quite a distance from Auburn. I'd been with members of a honor society called Lambda Sigma, which is not unfamiliar to some of you. And with a Auburn University van full of little Lambda Sigmites, we were pulling out to come back to Auburn about midnight. I was younger then. And so, with a van full of them, I said, we'll have one stop, maybe Shreveport. They suggested a truck stop or something like that. Well, anyway, they were fed. And I expected from thenceforth to be entertained with scintillating, stimulating conversation and clever repartee. Morphus carried them away. And I was left basically from West Louisiana to Auburn, Alabama by myself with these wretched 19 and 20-year-old sleepers. Now, you might say, how are you going to entertain yourself all that way? And some of you know that is not a nice road, okay? Just think about it a minute. And it's late. I mean, surely I'd been stimulated by all the Lambda Sigma talk, but I needed even more. And so I got to thinking, all right, if you got a sophomore honor society, and you got these senior honor societies, what about the juniors? Well, that lasted for several hours. And when I pulled in front of Lucille Burton Hall about 7 a.m. and parked that car stonily and looked at these sleepers, I said, see ya. But I had my plan in mind. Meeting with 5 members of Mortar Board shortly thereafter, we drew up plans to create a new junior honor society. And I have to tell you, this is one of the most exciting matters that I've done at Auburn. It took us about 5 years to create a national chapter of what is Cardinal Key Honor Society, which had been an Auburn Honor Society back in the 40s and 50s. And for historic reasons, I wanted to see that come back, because it had left to bring in a Mortar Board back in 1956 for Dean Cater. But I wanted Cardinal Key to come back now under co-educational ideas, sense of tradition. And we got that chapter on November the 22nd, 1987, over here in the chapel. And I was very, very pleased. And I feel like you always like to think, when you're gone, will there be anything left? And I like to think that that is one way that maybe you can make a little bit of impact by creating or helping to create something that is much, much more important than you are, in that it will continue to honor outstanding junior students in the future. Some may say, well, why get a job in history at all? Just take up student affairs. It won't take too long. Go back to grad school, get another doctorate in educational administration, and you'll be set. Well, the answer is that I always intended to be in academics. Student affairs is wonderful, and actually I have many friends in student affairs. But in fact, for me, it was a means to an end. In fact, I wanted to know what was going on in the lives of my students, and how would I know that in a classroom situation exclusively? I don't know, for example, now, what people are doing, but boy, back then I did. Because in addition to the honor societies, there was, of course, a social fraternity. And believe me, that is real life of a sort. And so, with rows of these people in my classes, either present, both physically and mentally, or merely physically, I knew what they were about, and I found this very, very useful in terms of trying to appreciate their lives, and of course, when necessary, express to them either my admiration or, in other cases, condemnation. In some cases, of course, I became probably more than a friend There was one from the class of 1993, now a lawyer in Atlanta, who was a history major, who was a member of all 4 honor societies I was the advisor of, and the vice president of the social fraternity that I was advising. He turned around, and I was there. He said, and his mother pointed out to me not so long ago up in Birmingham, she said, you know, it was like having both of us there, and we didn't have to pay extra. I said, that's the nicest compliment I could be paid, because I intended that he would succeed, and he certainly did so very greatly. While there were some students that I've had the opportunity to get to know outside the classroom, strictly because of extracurricular, because let's face it, most people in social fraternity, at least the one that I advised, were more, shall we say, oriented towards business and engineering, rather than, despite all my blandishments, the joys of studying the past. However, the fact is that most of the people I've known at Auburn, and boy, have I known a few, I imagine we're talking 30 to 35,000 at least, and it could be more. I just gave up counting. And of course, let's face it, classes have gotten smaller over these years. I started with 350, and I'm down to 200. So they are really shrinking on me. That's okay. I am glad to have the ones I do, and now see them come back. Sometimes they come back with their children to classes. The one that I guess I enjoyed the most was the one who came up, and he just spoke, he just smiled, said, oh yeah, I remember when I was in your class. And then the daughter outed him. He had dropped me. Yes, she said, Daddy dropped you. And so, I questioned his entire veracity, but I said, oh, well, it's not right for everybody. Can you imagine? But he thought he could get away with it. But she told the truth. She said, Daddy dropped you, but I'm going to do better. I said, you better. I don't want any more withdrawals. I mean, this psychologically has affected me for years. And I'm trying to move on with my life here. So basically, it's true that people do come back. They come back with their children. They're always shocked by PowerPoint. I mean, they use it in business, but I guess they think that I should still be using those old plastic sheets on Elmo, huh? They want it to be the same. And, in the old days, I had a Vegas mic, that would twist around my legs. I mean, it was before all this. So I've been there for the primitive, believe me. They come back. Or sometimes I run into them in some of these elite dining facilities, like the Chick-fil-A, for example. Now, this is truly a place that you never know who you may encounter. And often I will encounter these individuals, in the game day atmosphere, and they say, I was in your class in 19 such and such, and I was row G number 12, that kind of thing. And I enjoy that tremendously because people want to talk about, what they did at Auburn and all that. And I'm in history. So you want to do some nostalgia, I am ready for you. So we can go at it. I said, give me a year and I'll tell you what we were doing. You talk about 76, I'm swine flu vaccine. Some of you will know what I mean. It's just basically the idea that one can, over the years, see these people, remember their periods, and sometimes be a little shocked by how life has gone on. I was on the behalf of the professorship up at Vestavia and had a wonderful time reminding a boy in a social fraternity situation that I had, about how when our national representatives came, they mistakenly opened his closet and discovered a device called a funnel. I believe this is a device one uses to increase the enhancement of beer into one's system. Now, these events occurred late in the first Reagan term. But it was like it was 1983 again, and I looked at him, and he just turned, you know, that beautiful beach shade, and he said, "I didn't do it. Somebody else left it in the closet." And you know, of course, I knew better. He was guilty, and it was too late. It had only been a quarter of a century, you know, but then suddenly he brings up his wife and children. I guess this was to defend himself and show that he had made some positive steps since his funnel time. But it's amazing how you can see these people after all these years and enjoy it so much and remember how special that bond was and how special, of course, Auburn is to all of us. I hope that you will remember your alma mater, soon to be, in the same kind of way. Because when I got this job in 1975, I had an aunt down in Clio, Alabama. And boy, we're talking small. And I called her and said, "Guess what? I got a job." You know, that's very exciting to get a job, especially one that they give you money for. And I said, "I got a job." She said, "And at Auburn." She said, "You know, everybody says it's so friendly there." Well, 33 years later, she was right on the money. Now imagine that. Already, back then, I knew what, of course, I've been able to clearly be able to bear out based on my own experience. And I have to tell you, this is nothing that you can anticipate at any college, having attended two others. Myself, this is like another world in comparison with the atmospheres, the concern, the feelings of friendship, and all the rest of it. Now, on the subject of graduation, I'm going to give you some advice of a limited sort. One does not expect from an elderly bachelor a lot of advice on how to find a spouse or the proper rearing of children. I would say keep them quiet and well-behaved and well-dressed, but that's not what I think that you want to hear from me. I think instead, I'll tell you about what I do know, and that has to do, of course, about work, career, and life. I think there's nothing more, if you can do it, than giving work priority. And priority meaning not as a workaholic, but as someone to whom work is a passion and is truly, as the Calvinists might say, a vocation. That is, it is our calling. It is what we were meant to do. I was determined to do this in the 9th grade. That's pretty frightening, isn't it? I was running on Sly Bridge School. Young people, you don't know, that's a card game. And I was pretty heavy into cards then. And so I was teaching the younger kids how to play and win. And it's just the teaching gives you a wonderful sense and a great deal of pleasure. But it's work, of course. But it's work with a purpose. And it's not work as an end in itself. When you hear people speak about, "I'm going to work," or "I'm getting off work," or something, to me, our vocation, as I've seen it, is in no way something that we either look at as stopping or finishing. It goes on all the time. But in fact, it is something that we are called to do, we have passion about, we enjoy, and it's filled with fulfilling experiences. Now, the problem is getting a job that'll do that for you. Now, you know, we professors, we have a high satisfaction rate. Yeah, we complain, but we love it. We love this stuff. No wonder, you know, you get wonderful people and great experiences and this, that, and the other. It's your challenge as future alumni to find something that gives you that kind of pleasure, and you won't be asking for any early retirement, believe me. Work should never be merely a paycheck and good medical coverage. I hear that quite a bit. Oh, it's got great medical coverage. But, you know, I mean, you're going to sit there 5 days a week, 8 to 10 hours a day saying, you won't believe my HMO. Oh, I'm so excited about my HMO. I don't know how much joy that can really bring a person, because we must spend so much time at work, and it should be something important to you. You will be university graduates after all. If you were not, it might be a different story, and any kind of job would do. But it seems to me that spending this time with us at Auburn has been for the purpose of obtaining a type of job which is truly a meaningful one and will, we hope, pay the bills comfortably. I am not denying the joys of money. There is a certain purpose to it, and I can accept that. However, as I was just talking to one of you about in a very shishi restaurant called Chick-fil-A 2 days ago, I don't care what kind of SUV you have. I don't care if every suit on your back is from Brooks Brothers. It isn't necessarily going to make you happy. And remember that. In addition to family, in addition to faith, try to think of gaining work that will bring you joy. And also remember that behind us, back home, when we go to work every day, we leave possibly lots and lots of troubles. And you may have lots and lots of troubles. I know I have. Personal grief, for example. And sometimes, shockingly, and 33 years ago, I didn't always feel good. Isn't that something? I did not feel good. We had things called contact pills. I don't think they make those anymore. They were little capsules. Get up, pop a couple, good to go. Vicks Formula 44. That was black and quite potent. And I had it on a stage like this in room 2370, knocked down a little, and I was perfect for the lecture. It's knowing, of course, sick days are good if you need them, but you shouldn't need them if you can make it. I believe in making it, and I believe also, and again, I don't know what our psychologists might say, I need to ask some that I know. I also think we should be as pleasant as we can. I have had, on occasion, some people, and I thought, gosh, 18 and 19, and already more diseased than I could ever imagine. Here I am, you know, about ready for the home, and I'm feeling great. And I'm thinking 18 and 19 with all these troubles. Well, let's see what I had to say about this in 1987. This is a plainsman. I've got my archives, people. I've got them. This is from 1918. If Kicklighter gave last lecture, what would he say? Yes, it's yellow. It's quite yellow, but I did look good. Yeah, been brutal this past 2 decades, but it was good back then. The most important key to success, according to Kicklighter, is to always try to maintain ourselves as cheerfully and pleasantly as possible. And said, because of this philosophy, he has been told to, quote, unplug yourself, unquote. Additionally, Kicklighter said, self-pity is an indulgence, and a smile is always contagious. Okay, well, that was what I said in 1987. And guess what? I still believe it. Because do you realize how many people are around us who are dependent on us? And you'll be in the same boat. Fellow students, your fellow professors, or others in the capacity really don't have time, except in a personal way, for our ills. somehow I think it part of our public position to maintain this and say, I can get through till 5 or 6. It will not always be easy. Sometimes I've been wrong. Once I went back to work right after the death of a loved one the next day, and the student said, why weren't you here yesterday? And I thought, I can't take it. I'll have to leave. I cannot take it. I can't tell them, you know, my personal business. But I got through somehow. When you get a little age on you, you'll start thinking about your health. And health, of course, is both mental and physical. And believe me, a good boon, I think, for good physical health is a certain amount of happiness and maintenance of happiness, even sometimes when we don't feel it inside. Sometimes people may say, gosh, I get so sick of the cheerful type, as in zip it up. But let me tell you something. Try out the other way on them and see which they like better, okay? Just see. I think in most cases, the cheerful will normally win. Let me add that I think that most of us, in fact, I dare say almost all of us, are where we are or will get where we're going to a great extent because of other people. And I urge you to think about that when you leave this place and move on. Wherever you go, and I, of course, am not at my own alma mater, but I always think about those people who made it possible for me to go to school where I did. Believe you me, I wouldn't have been at those schools without something called scholarships, and lots of them. And that was somebody else's money. And now I have some money in my bank account, and so it's my turn. I'm very, very cognizant of that I would never have gotten here without other people's money. I'm not saying I was poor, but like many of you, I wasn't rich either. And there were a lot of kind, thoughtful people who provided for my education, and they didn't have to. It was because they cared. And I urge you to think about that as an alumnus and to taking full advantage of the opportunities. If it isn't this school, whatever school you feel close to, emotional about. Obviously, I've been at Auburn so long, I might as well have gone here. But whatever school it is, in fact, I try to give to all three because they've all been so good to me. It's simply returning what I've already had, so it's not being charitable necessarily. It's more like simply returning. And I hope with some interest, and I assure you it is interest, because let me tell you, in the olden times, you could go to college, get ready, $2,000, and you were living like a king, $2,000. But I don't think anybody would try that now, right? Try then to put that in your thoughts, almost like something small. Boy, that's what I started with. Maybe, can you believe $25, I think, my first year in graduate school, I was giving back to my college, just so they knew I was thinking about them. You know, it's like, hi, I'm trying to make it, and someday, when I'm a kingpin tycoon, you'll be fabulously wealthy as a result of me. Well, we're working on that, but they're getting what I can afford. And hold on to your friends. Oh, it's so easy to lose them. A friend of mine is just planning his high school reunion now, and I think about that and how important that is because it's so easy for them to slip away. And it doesn't take that long because, you know, our Auburn community is worldwide, but it's a big world. And it's very, very easy that we can, in fact, say, well, I'll wait till next year. We'll all get together at the reunion. I heard that a lot during my social fraternity time. And People just slip away. You don't mean for it to happen. What you need to do, of course, is make a mutual commitment to maintaining relationships. And that's got to be mutual. If you're not willing to do that, then I say let it go. But there is nothing like having a friend from college. There really isn't. I went to my 40th college reunion with my best friend from college. Lives in New York. He flew down. I met him because it was one of those, well, I'm not going if you're not going. You going? I'm not going if you're not going. Well, we kept doing that, and finally we agreed to do it together, because, we both can walk. We both got our teeth. I mean, we're doing great. So we felt that we would be great models of how wonderful things can be after all these years. But I dare say there would have been 2 registration fees that they wouldn't have gotten if it had not been for our friendship, because we were there for each other and we were willing to enjoy that together. At the same time, in graduate school, a friend of mine who's been teaching in a preparatory school, an independent school in Atlanta, longer than I've been at Auburn. Ooh. And I guess I'm just 33, she's 36. So I'm still trying to catch up. And we talk and we enjoy each other. I still remember when we had our doctoral prelims, all the coffee that we drank together, and all the experiences we had. All that's so far long ago, but we're still concerned about what we do. And that's because, of course, we have always maintained contact. They were 2 of the first people I called after I heard from Andy. That's right. You know why? Because they would care about that. You don't tell people this sort of thing. Just people you knew. Hi, haven't talked to you in the last 10 or 20 years, but wanted you to know. It's got to be a relationship that you have maintained, because it's just like everything else. So for wine drinkers, you know about aging. It gets better with age, and that is the case with friendships as well. I've been very fortunate. I continue to be very fortunate. I have been here now for many years. According to the article in 1987, I was to be here for 40 years before I gave that speech. So apparently I've still got a few good years left, and I'm mighty thankful for that. When they said final and last, that didn't mean I was getting the big send-off today. But we are, of course, thinking about your big send-off. And on behalf of Auburn University and all of those who are administrators and professors, those who have known you, and perhaps those who have not known you except for part of our student body, I wish you every joy and success in your future life and in your career, and wish for you all the satisfaction and joy that I myself have known in my life here at Auburn University. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.